Welcome to the Calm Analytics channel. Boris Tiesenghausen here with you, June 21st. Here are the main news stories as of this moment. The authorities of occupied Crimea, represented by the exemplary fool Aksyonov, have announced a complete halt to fuel sales on the peninsula. A complete halt. Fuel is now only available for government services. Spoiler, soon there won't be anything left even for them. And just a week ago, the same Aksyonov claimed that the situation would normalize within a month. Well, I guess this is what he meant by normalized. No fuel problems. That's Aksyonov's solution. As for the stones from the sky, I guess no one even mentions that anymore. And here's what happened last night. In Kerch, the seaport is on fire after a massive attack by Ukrainian defense forces. Fires have also been reported on the territory of the port Kavkaz, in the Kerch Strait and in the area of military unit 98-546. We'll talk about that a bit later. So, among the targets hit just this night are the Kerch seaport and industrial zone, the railway terminal for transshipment and storage of petroleum products from liquefied gas, the military unit 98-546-630, and the separate railway battalion located at Cape Yanikali. They are located, have set up next to the Golden Pheasant Resort. Basically, these are railway troops. They were hit, or more precisely, the air defense systems stationed on their territory were hit. Port Kavkaz is on fire, the oil transshipment complex as well, and the staging and waiting area for vehicles right before loading onto the ferry at Port Kavkaz. And the ferries themselves are also burning. I'll show you the video a bit later. That's it. It's over. No one is bringing anything to Crimea anymore. But that's not all. Today, a total of 4 radar stations from the S-400 complex and 2 Pantsir systems were successfully hit. All of this happened in the same area. Who did this? Who deserves the credit? The SBU, God Service, the drone forces, the GUR, and the Special Operations Forces. And the cherry on top, or rather I'd say a whole watermelon on the cake, the oil products transshipment base, which is currently burning in the port of Kerch, is located right next to the Crimean Bridge. Well, not exactly under the Crimean Bridge, but really close by. I checked the map. It's 950 meters from the Crimean Bridge. By the way, today a very important post appeared on the account of the drone forces. Let me quote it for you. We're not hinting at anything, but last night we saw the Crimean Bridge from very close up and from different angles, and they post this photo. They post it with an explanation. Number 1 is what we bombed. Number 2 is the one itself, the Crimean Bridge. So we're not hinting at anything. Listen, this is wonderful news. And the consequences will be simply catastrophic for the Russian Federation, for the occupiers who have settled in Crimea. By the way, friends, don't forget to subscribe to this channel. It's important and you can do it right now. It helps promote the channel. We are fighting against Putin's propaganda. Let's do it together. So be sure to subscribe. And now the official statements from the Russian authorities have started coming in. By the way, you know what I noticed? In the last 6 months or so, they haven't really been hiding the situation anymore. That is, not everyone is calling explosions pops or fires smoke incidents anymore. For example, here's an official statement from today. The operational headquarters of Krasnodar Krai announced that starting June 21st, ferry transportation across the Kerch crossing will be suspended. Since heavy trucks are prohibited from crossing the Crimean Bridge, drivers now have to choose an alternative land route, the R280 highway through Rostov-on-Don, Taganrog, Mariupol, Melitopol, and so on. Or, as people now call it, the Road of Death. Listen, so what is actually happening? Today, one of the last ferries used by the occupiers in Crimea, the Panagia, as well as 2 other ferries, were also attacked. We'll even watch a video about this. Just overnight, as Russians themselves admit today, air defense systems destroyed 239 Ukrainian drones over Krasnodar Krai, Crimea, and the adjacent waters. That's just over the occupied Crimea alone. 239 drones, in fact. And they write that the situation is under control. Well, let's take a look at how things are really under control there. Watch this video. This is Kerch, a fuel transshipment and storage facility. Looks like everything is about to burn down now. Today, not only was this facility hit, not only the ferries, but also the Kasta 2 Echo 2 radar station. That's in Korotnoye, the Niboyu radar as well. In Kerch, gas compressor stations in Aramatnoye, in Juravlevka, in Kliuchi. In other words, they really hit hard there today. Part of Crimea is without power. In general, everything is going according to plan. Pack your bags, occupiers, and get out. Go back to where you came from. Not so long ago, we talked about what Donetsk has turned into after the arrival of the Russian world. A flourishing, beautiful city has turned into a dirty, stinking cesspool. Where water is delivered only once every few days, there's filth on the streets, and the garbage isn't collected. In other words, during the entire occupation since 2014, they still haven't solved the water problem in Donetsk. In 12 years, they have ruined a beautiful city. So, from time to time, Putin summons some officials from the occupied territories, they promise him something at the table, show him some pretty slides, and that's where it all ends. He also promises every year to get Russians out of the slums. I think you know perfectly well how that will end. He'll drag them into the slums. Believe me, most Russians will end up there soon enough. Why is this important? Why are these strikes on the ferry crossing on the port of Kavkaz, on the port in Kerch, why are they so important for us? To understand the significance of all today's strikes, you need to look at this map. On the Russian side, there is the port of Kavkaz on the Chushka Spit, and on the Ukrainian side, there is Kerch. Between them, across the Kerch Strait, operates a ferry crossing. It's like a sea bridge, mainly used to transport fuel to Crimea now. Actually, not just fuel, everything is being transported to Crimea now. This is for various reasons when it's impossible to transport through the Crimean Bridge or by other routes. After the Crimean Bridge was damaged in 2022, the importance of this ferry crossing increased sharply. That is, Russia began to use it actively again. Moreover, it was through Port Kavkaz that the main fuel supplies were delivered. After the strikes on the ferries, the Russians themselves admitted that yes, a problem had arisen. And Russia had 4 routes left to supply Crimea. Let's count them on our fingers. First, the Crimean Bridge, but you can't transport fuel or any flammable materials across it. Second is the ferry crossing between the ports of Kavkaz and Kerch. Fuel could be transported via this route. The 2 main railway ferries there, Slavyanin and Avangard, were destroyed, so the Russians started using car ferries instead. These railway ferries were large enough to drive tank cars directly onto them. And now trucks and fuel tankers are the ones crossing via this ferry route. And the Russians started transporting things quietly, thinking we wouldn't notice. And today, several of these car ferries, actually I think all of them, were put out of commission. Let's finally take a look at this wonderful video. It's being filmed by some agent from a huge line of trucks. They're watching as the ferries burn in the Port Kavkaz. Take a look.
3 парома горят. 1, 2, 3. Все.
That's it. As they say, it's over. Now you can't use the ferry, and you can't transport fuel over the bridge either. We're left with the 3rd and 4th routes. The 3rd is the land corridor through the occupied Azov region. Now, this route is called the Road of Death. Ukrainian drones are patrolling over the main and secondary highways there, hunting down these fuel trucks, hunting down military cargo, so you can't really speed up there either. Sea transport through the ports of Crimea is also shut down after the appearance of naval drones. So how are we going to transport fuel now? Well, of course, that's why they're shutting everything down now. But the most important thing is that now fuel will no longer be delivered to the southern grouping of Russian troops. That's what's important. That's why today's fires near Kerch, near the port of Kavkaz, are significant not just by themselves, but as part of the bigger picture, that is, cutting off Crimea and the southern grouping of Russian troops from supplies. Beautiful. Well, and the armed forces of Ukraine are performing truly incredible feats, and in every episode we have an important fundraiser for Ukraine's defense forces. Today, we continue raising funds for electronic warfare equipment. Electronic warfare equipment for the 33rd Separate Assault Regiment, which is defending the Zaporizhzhia direction. Assault troops who are always the first to meet the enemy. The soldiers need electronic warfare equipment to protect themselves from enemy drones. They need vehicle-mounted, trench-based and individual electronic warfare systems. Our warriors have recorded an address to you. Please take a look.
Ми бійці 33-го окремого штурмового полку, що воює зараз на Запорізькому напрямку. Сьогодні на фронті технології змінюються дуже швидко. Противник активно використовує FPV та розвідувальні дрони, НРК. Тому нам постійно доводиться адаптуватися та посилювати захист. Одним з найефективніших рішень є засоби радіоелектронної боротьби, які дозволяють подавляти сигнали керування дронами та захищати бійців та техніку. Звертаємося по допомогу до спільноти Бориса Тізенгаузена. Штурмовикам потрібні окопний реп, автомобільний реп та індивідуальний реп для захисту бійців та техніки. Кожен такий засіб – це шанс зберегти життя воїнів та техніку. Дякуємо всім і кожному. Слава Україні! Героям слава!
Let's help our assault troops from the 33rd Regiment. The link to the fundraiser is in the description of this video. There are mono, private, and PayPal options for those who want to help from abroad. There's a QR code in the corner of this video. That's if you're watching on another channel. It also always leads to the fundraiser. Your donation directly saves the lives of our defenders. Thank you so much. And also a big hello to you from Caesar from the Legion. We met with him briefly, literally for a few minutes the other day. He sends his immense gratitude, as does the entire Legion, for the fundraiser you helped close for equipment repairs. Well, in general, Caesar wasn't very talkative. He's actually quite modest, very refined. And he said that with such support behind us, we will definitely win. I also passed on your warmest wishes to him, hoping that all the fighters return home. Thank you so much. Meanwhile, fuel shortages are already continuing across Russia. Lines are forming at gas stations in the regions. The authorities remain silent. In fact, many officials are blaming Russians themselves, saying, why are you even bringing your own canisters here, stockpiling fuel? Just look at Crimea. Soon it will be like this in many regions. They'll just say, that's it, fuel is only for city services, and even then, maybe not. There might not even be enough left for them. I mean, they see what's happening in Crimea. Russians can see it themselves. But the authorities say, no, everything is fine right now, it's just the heat or something else over there. And by the way, the strike on the Antipinsky oil refinery was confirmed yesterday, a distance of 2,000 kilometers. Excellent. What other kind of strike could there be on a Russian oil refinery? Excellent, of course. The Tyumen oil refinery is one of the largest oil processing enterprises in western Siberia. Every day. Every night, the armed forces of Ukraine take out several oil refining facilities in the Russian Federation and in the occupied territories. And in Tyumen, gasoline has started to disappear from some gas stations and restrictions are being introduced. In Tyumen, just think about that. Today I came across some Russian blogger who basically had a meltdown. I don't know, maybe he's from Crimea, and he was saying that already in July, Ukraine won't be launching 1,000 drones at Russia, but 2,000, even 3,000. I want to say, may your words reach God's ears, of course. We really hope that's how it will be. And one more piece of news. A Saratov deputy has called for a ban on VPNs because of reports about a fuel shortage. So you see, he decided to approach it from the other side. Deputy Stanislav Denisenko, at a session of the local Duma, said that he had come to the conclusion that the topic of the shortage is being artificially hyped up. He said that with this VPN, residents are reading the wrong websites, so VPNs need to be banned so that citizens only read the right websites, where there is no shortage, where everything is wonderful, where Putin is just some kind of magician. Like Simonian said, that Putin is as merciful as Jesus Christ. Those are the kinds of websites people should be reading. And this deputy also noted that this nasty topic of fuel shortages is being spread only by enemy YouTube channels. Like mine, for example. Then even this deputy's colleagues couldn't take it anymore. In response, they showed him publications in Russian outlets, which are accessible without a VPN, and those also write about the shortage. Don't you get the feeling, friends, that destructive processes in the Russian Federation have really sped up? Like everything has just started moving really fast, literally in the last 2 or 3 months. And it's clear that's why things are getting worse in their chamber. Russia is not waiting for the Anchorage agreements to be fulfilled, but is counting only on victory, said Putin's aide Ushakov. Counting on victory? Seriously? And how are things going in Crimea? And what about the bridges? And what about the Moscow oil refinery? What kind of victory are you expecting, you fool? Has anyone even seen these Anchorage agreements or the spirit of Anchorage? It's only the Russians who keep going on about this all the time. The fact that the bold mackerel keeps having these episodes and talks to the spirit of Anchorage is clear enough. But why are they trying to impose this spirit of Anchorage on the rest of the world? What, you don't see the spirit of Anchorage? It's right here with us in this room. Even Trump is already waving it off. Go away with your spirit of Anchorage. Yesterday I came across a very interesting post saying that in Russia, many people simply do not physically see the connection between strikes on oil refineries, the lack of gasoline in Russia, tax increases, and the war. They don't see the connection. There's a psychological block at a physical level. When people on the street are asked why all this is happening, Russians respond, well, these are tough times right now, we just have to endure. They are asked again, who is to blame? What is the reason? Why are these times difficult? And they reply, Russia has always had difficult times. Russia has always prevailed. It's as if they physically don't want to, as if the moment they answer the question correctly, if they find this logical cause and effect connection, some kind of spirit of Anchorage will immediately appear and just tear them apart, atom by atom. Well, to be fair, not everyone is like that. There are those who respond absolutely adequately. And news from Crimea is coming in at just cosmic speed. Local authorities have called for people to also turn off air conditioners and powerful electrical appliances. Apparently, electricity is about to disappear there as well. It has already started to go out. People from Sevastopol and Alushta have written to me about it. People from Yalta say it's going out there too. They're introducing rolling blackouts now. So, getting out of Crimea is not such an easy task. Trains are being cancelled, there's no gasoline, and there aren't enough buses. There are dozens of videos from Russians crying that they can't leave Crimea. Maybe you shouldn't have gone to occupied Crimea in the first place. What did you expect? Isn't it just so satisfying, you know? To realize that right now those very scumbags who used to laugh and burn their Ukrainian passports are stuck there. I have a few acquaintances like that with whom I've completely cut off all contact. It's so satisfying now to send my regards to those absolutely hopeless acquaintances through my YouTube channel like this. And to all those who used to say that the Russians came here to Ukraine to save us, that we just needed to endure a little. Now you'll find out what it really means to endure, and it won't be just a little. They used to say the Russian army was invincible, that we here were all lost souls who didn't understand this wonderful Russian world they were bringing to us. Now over there in Crimea, they're going to shut everything off for you, electricity, water, internet, there won't be any gasoline. You'll have plenty of time then to sit, reflect, and reconsider the nonsense you've been spreading. Anyone who wants to can start packing their bags right now and head off toward the Russian Federation before it's too late. Because when you hear that the Crimean Bridge has collapsed, that it's been destroyed, there will be no other way out of Crimea. Crimean partisans report that the season is a complete failure even before it began. Real estate prices have plummeted, but there are no buyers interested in property in Crimea. There is confirmation that the quiet evacuation of the families of Russian military and political leadership, these ghouls and special services, is already taking on a mass scale. This quiet, covert evacuation is becoming widespread. And more often in whispers there are suggestions that Ukraine is preparing an amphibious landing in Crimea after the destruction of the Crimean Bridge. Be afraid, be very afraid. What Ukraine is preparing, you will only find out when Ukraine has already done it. The most interesting thing is that now those gold-toothed old communist women, the very ones who used to scream Putin at every rally in Crimea at ultrasonic pitch, will start getting really indignant. Those ones. Here in Sevastopol there were quite a lot of them. It was probably from people like that Putin's squads were later formed. Because Sevastopol was, for a long time, a closed military city. A special stratum formed there. Children and grandchildren of intelligence officers, career political workers, military personnel, and so on. That's where those gold-toothed KGB grandmas come from. And now prices are going to skyrocket, and these KGB grandmas in knitted bonnets and big sunglasses will start complaining. They'll start writing denunciations on an industrial scale. And what's more, they won't blame Putin. Putin, he just doesn't know what's going on. It's all these local people. Now the infighting among these spiders in a jar will begin. And at the end of the program, I want to quote a post by the commander of Ukraine's Unmanned Systems Forces, Magyar. A very short but meaningful post. I think there's nothing to add or take away here. Moscow and the bunker grandpa will cling to Crimea until the very end as the main trophy of this war. Naturally, because it's a pillar of ideology, greatness, and a bunch of perks like the internal Sea of Azov and so on, Despite this, Crimea as a staging ground for attacks on Ukraine is already a military absurdity. Here's what will happen next. Complete destruction of air defenses, punching holes in the remnants of the fleet, halting the shadow fleet, total depletion of resources and logistics, a tourism default, an energy desert, a transportation lockdown, and so on. To Ukrainians in the occupied territory, forgive us from now on for the constant alarms, closed bridges and roads, darkness, lack of peace and quiet and stress. Stay away from military facilities and anything flammable. Share this video and just take care of yourselves. Our birds work with precision, but every time you chop wood, chips will fly. There is no other way to demilitarize and drive out 1 million occupiers from the peninsula. There is a lot of work to do, and we know it. Crimea will bring Moscow down. This is the turning point psychologically. Khashoggi's needle is hidden there. All dictatorships collapse suddenly. Think of any example. Written by Madhyar. Well then. And you, friends, take care of yourselves, take care of your loved ones, subscribe to this channel, don't forget. And let's help our assault troops from the 33rd Separate Assault Regiment. Our help is needed by them right now. The link to donate is in the description of this video. Have a peaceful day, everyone, and glory to Ukraine.